September 12th meeting for 2023. If we could stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have our agenda review, Bob.
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda today.
I'll move the agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same. Passes. We'll move on. Mr. Ryan Henniker, if you want to step up, we got County Ditch 26 to set a hearing.
Morning, Ryan.
Morning.
I have a repair hearing, setting a hearing date. Quick memo for you. Blue Ridge County Ditch 26 is primarily located in McPherson Township. Drainage staff is proposing to host a repair hearing to discuss upcoming costs and repairs to portions of this public drainage system. Areas proposed for repair include the outlet area of County Ditch 26, removing trees, brush, and repairing of crossings and ditch side slopes as necessary. At today's meeting, the Blue Ridge County Drainage Authority, we are requesting the Drainage Authority set a repair hearing date of September 26, 2023 by approving the draft findings in order.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same. That passes. And then we have County Ditch 52. So if you could, I could start it out. Welcome everybody to County Ditch 52 continuation hearing. We will hear from Drainage Authority Attorney Mr. Cale Van Bergen. Is that right?
Bruggen, close.
Bruggen.
Van Bergen.
Bruggen.
Bruggen.
Thanks, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Today we're here for the continued final contract acceptance hearing on the County Ditch 52 improvement project. The board previously met and accepted the contract and finalized the final payment to the contractor on this improvement project. But at that hearing, the board continued that hearing to today's date just for the purpose of addressing a special damages issue. So as a quick refresher to the board's memory, there was a landowner, Mr. Ronald Strite, whose property was initially planned as part of the improvement project to be used for a stormwater retention pond. There's a unique situation where typically in ditch law, a landowner who's damaged is also benefited, but the way this project was designed, Mr. Strite's property was only damaged. He wasn't benefited by the improvement project. His property was originally proposed to be used for the retention pond. There was an error on the county's part where a landowner who was damaged but not benefited was left off of the final hearing notice. And so the Drainage Authority did not acquire any jurisdiction over that property. The work started, some trees were cut without the Drainage Authority actually taking any property interests properly in that property. When that came to light, the work was halted. There was a review by the engineer, and ultimately the retention pond portion of the project did not go forward, but the trees were already damaged, and so we have to deal with that special damages issue, addressing the damages for the trees. There was some litigation where initially the landowner, Mr. Strite, brought a claim against the county and it went to district court. We moved to dismiss that case by summary judgment, arguing that although the proper drainage code procedures weren't followed, that it was a damage that was caused in the intended plan of furthering the improvement project, and so the damages needed to happen in front of the Drainage Authority Board first under the drainage code before there could be any appeal to district court. The judge agreed with that, and so this board appointed a viewer to make a recommendation to you about the value of the damages to the property. That viewer, his name is Ron Rehnquist. He's here today, so you're going to hear a brief overview of his report. Following that, the Drainage Code requires that there be an opportunity for any public comments and questions. And then following that, when all the public comments and questions have been put into the record, then the board will deliberate and make a final decision on that damages award. There is an agreement with the landowner to waive any appeal right of the final order today that we have worked out, but the drainage code still requires that we have this hearing, and it was the board's motion at the last hearing to continue until today in order to complete these steps. So with that, Mr. Chairman, are there any questions from you or the board for me about procedure or background before we move on to Mr. Rehnquist? Thank you.
Thank you, Cal, for that explanation for today's continuance hearing. We will now have viewer Ron Rehnquist give his report on damages pertaining to this proceedings. Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board. As I was not one of the viewers that did the redetermination or the determination of the improvement benefits, I did consult with the viewers that were appointed at that time and had some knowledge, but not specific knowledge of the benefits and damages. It's my understanding that, yes, the error was made. There were damages and a proposed pond as a alternate put in within, as an option put in with the engineer's report, and the property was not listed specifically as receiving damages from the proposed tile improvement itself. It was from the pond that was an option, and so no damages were granted by the viewers at that time. So I was requested to look at specific damages to this property. I looked at the property physically and talked with and consulted with the engineer and Ryan as to what the conditions were before and after, because I had not made specific observations of the property before the trees were removed or after. I did look afterwards. The property had been, any damage had been restored, reseeded, but yes, the trees were missing. That was obvious on the historic photos. The trees that were there were in an area that was not cropland and appeared not to have been used as hay or pasture land for multiple years. It was north of Rice Creek and didn't have any direct access for the landowner himself. His tillable acres in his house are south of the creek, so I made no adjustment to the value of either the tillable or the residential property that are part of his 80-acre tract. When I looked at the impact of that property, I compared it with other sales of mixed-use recreational type of properties within Blue Earth County. I have done historically a number of right-of-way claims for pipelines and roads where it does affect woods and different types of properties, so I relied on some of that experience in looking at what impact removing a few trees from a mixed-use recreational piece of property would really have, and came up that no willing buyer that I could see would distinguish the value of the property differently because it was missing one big maple tree that was in question and maybe a few smaller box elders. So I thought there was no long-term property value, so any values that were lost were really the value of the tree in itself. It was not a landscape tree, it was just a volunteer maple that had been growing for 20 or 30 years. Nobody could tell me exactly how tall, how big, the diameter, or what it was, but I looked at it as having a value mostly for firewood because it wasn't big enough for lumber or construction timber for maple at all. So because nobody could tell me exactly how big it was, I estimated and made the assumption that it would be between 1 and 2 cords of firewood. And if it was a good maple, which I don't know, it may have gone for as much as $250 per cord for firewood. If that's not including labor, but if the owner was going to use it for his own purposes, he would have to acquire that wood someplace else once it was removed. And so I used $250 a cord for the value of the firewood, between 1 to 2 cords, and said it would be between $250 and $500 worth of damages. Not knowing, I said that I would recommend that the board allow damages of $500 for the loss of the value of the one tree. The box elders in themselves have no value because, well, I suppose people could burn them, but they've got no marketable value as firewood.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will now open the meeting for a public comment portion of the hearing pertaining only to the subject matter related to today's continuance hearing regarding the street property This hearing is being recorded, and each person wishing to speak will be given 5 minutes to speak. I will ask the county administrator to keep time and provide a 1-minute notice. Is there anyone who wishes to provide comment on County Road 52, or County Ditch 52? Anyone wishing to provide comment on CD 52? And for the last time, anybody wishing to comment on CD 52? All right. If not, I would like to bring this matter back to the board at this time. Is there any other discussion or questions from the board for Ryan or the attorney? No other additional questions or comments? Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed the same. That passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And now we will go to Public Works. Ryan?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Ryan.
How are you this morning?
Morning drive.
All right. Well, we've got a handful of action items this morning for consideration. The first one is to consider bids for state aid project 007-613-013, which is for CSAH 13 reconstruction from US Highway 169 to CSAH 1. The project, as you know, was slowed down to getting it out to bid. It was originally planned to go out for reconstruction earlier this spring. And right-of-way acquisition, design delays led to right-of-way acquisition, slowed down. And then ultimately permitting and project funding. So we did receive the next action item is a state grant to pay for half of the bridge cost. So we did receive that. We've discussed the permit previously. We are moving forward, and I'll have additional discussion on that. But with that being said, we received 6 bids on the project, with the engineer's estimate being $10,781,878.80, with Mathewitz Construction Company coming in as the low bidder at $10,210,037.39, which is 5.3% under the engineer's estimate. R&E Enterprises of Mankato was second. SM Henches and Sons was third. Hoffman Construction Company of Wisconsin was fourth. Michaels Road and Stone was fifth, and Midwest Contracting was sixth, with the highest bid being 10.88% over the estimate. So given the fact that we did have 6 bids, 15% spread, and our engineer's estimate was kind of right where it should be, in the middle of the pack. We're happy with the bid. Mathewitz certainly has the resources to deliver this large of a project, and the project coordination and scheduling aspects as well, having a proven track record with that. So the board packet did include the bid summary, and I've also provided a copy of the project bid abstract. As the board is aware, I don't include these because these don't get published until the actual bids have been approved by the county board, so we're not sharing bid prices until it's public information. So with that being said, I would recommend award of the bid to Mathewitz Construction Company for $10 million, $210,037.39.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Good. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same. Passes.
All right, thank you. The second action item is consideration of MnDOT agreement number 1054448 for State Aid Project 007613013. This is a local bridge replacement program grant agreement. This is a standard grant agreement that's been completed to show that we will be receiving an estimated amount of local bridge replacement program funds, $1,228,489.82. $1,000,000.81, which is 50% of the contract bid replacement cost. So we would recommend that the board approve the grant agreement as it's provided in the county board packet.
I'll move approval.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Pass.
All right, thank you. The third action item is approval of the resolution that's included as Exhibit E of the Local Bridge Replacement Program Grant Agreement, authorizing the county engineer as the project agent, and then also the administrator and board chair to enter into the agreement.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, the same. It passes.
All right. Action item number 4, consideration of final payment for state aid project 007611012. This is CASA 11 from CASA 20 to Minnesota Highway 68 that was reconstructed last year. Original contract amount was $5,939,674.68. The total final work certified to date and final payment amount to the contractor, $5,936,158.83, with the final contract payment amount of $36,724.25. I would recommend final payment to R&E Enterprises of Mankato.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Passes.
All right, thank you. And we'll move on to informational items, project updates. CASA 16 from the Le Sueur River to CASA 90. Road was open to traffic last Wednesday with just a handful of minor punch list and cleanup items remaining to be done. So R&G Construction was the prime contractor on that project. It's been open to traffic, so we're excited to have it done this early in the season. CASA 26 from 57, which is North Riverfront Drive, to Minnesota Highway 22. Minnesota Paving and Materials continues to work from the west to the east, working both the large storm sewer pipe and the road section itself. The road should have the pipe, the sand, and the actual Class 5 aggregate base up to grade from Riverfront Drive to Wood Drive, which is the west entrance to the trailer park on the north side of the road, by the end of this week. So they are behind schedule by about a month right now. So we've made the contractor fully aware of that, and I think we've got enough time padded in for them to still get it done this year. However, they're going to be well over the contract time if it continues at this pace. We're hoping that they're able to accelerate it, their work a little bit more, but it's been slow going out there.
Why?
There's been one crew working on the site, so they'll work on the pipe and then they'll jump back and do the road and then go back to the pipe. Whereas normally you would like to see at least one crew working on the utilities continuously, and then a second crew coming in and doing the road work behind them. So.
I went out there. It was a lot of fun trying to get around. But
Yes, yeah. And one of the challenges of that is it's a relatively narrow corridor, and really the ends are the only places that you have suitable access for construction traffic to go in and out. Residential traffic's another story, but again, I think we've got enough time in this year that it'll be returned to a serviceable road before the winter. We do have that segment of trail that was left out because we don't have the right of way yet, so we're still working on that as well inside. CASA 15 bridge project was completed and open to traffic within the 2-week road closure per the contract time requirement. That was that corrugated metal pipe, arch plate metal pipe that was failing and was replaced with a large box culvert. 10 and 72 in Vernon Center, some work. The contract has been awarded to Holtmeyer Construction. Some work will begin this year. We attended the pre-construction meeting a couple of weeks ago. The work that'll happen on the county system this year will be on probably that block of CASA 72, which is East Street in the city of Vernon Center, as they replace the city utilities. The rest of the work on Main Street, which is also CASA 72 in Vernon Center, and CASA 10 was anticipated to happen in 2024. CASA 13, that segment that we just awarded the contract on from 1 to US Highway 169. Work is anticipated to begin October 2nd. The 2023 minimum work items included tree removals, county ditch realignment, and box culvert replacement on the very western edge of the project. There's a county ditch that runs parallel to the county stated highway that was too close to the county stated highway for more modern safety standards. So if somebody were to run off the road and not, the ditch was within the recovery area for the design standards we were seeking to apply. So we moved the ditch out, changed the crossing, and had to replace a box culvert bridge as well. So want to get that done this year.
What time of year can they remove the trees on that?
Well, on this one, because we have the core permit did not have any stipulations in it, that work was covered under the core permit, so we can do it in October. Normally, though, I think for your point, we would have to wait until November 1st. However, in this circumstance, they can start that work right away.
Okay.
Also placing the embankment fill construction in the wetland areas that were to be mitigated under the core permit, so we want to get that done under the current permit while it's still valid and within its grace period. And then the contractor did inform us that they want to perform bridge removal right away. So we are working on a notification letter to send out to the residents. That wasn't what we had originally planned. However, given the permit constraints that we have on the project, especially with respect to the core permit and working within the river, in an ideal world, knock on wood, we would love to see the contractor get all of the permitted work done before the permit expiration date in February, so it wouldn't have to be re-verified. If that does not happen, the permit will have to be re-verified, and we've already started that work with the Army Corps and the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. So we did receive the Corps' permission to move forward with the project under the existing permit, knowing that elements of it would have to be re-verified depending on which work items are left as of the deadline for the permit. So,
Yes, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
Just to go back on the bridge on 13, work begins October 2nd. Do we have an estimated date, what date the bridge would be closed?
Just looking at the letter that just went out. I mean, really, I think we said as of October
2 days
2nd. We
after
don't, no, yeah, it
Corn
won't be.
harvest would be perfect.
Right. I can get that to you, Kevin. I can send you this letter as well.
I mean, I don't know if that starts exactly at the same time or
I don't
working
think,
more on ditch 78.
we haven't had the pre-construction meeting yet with the contractor, so we don't have a definitive schedule. They just said that they want to, what their conversation with Stefan was, is we want to, and we'll certainly bring that up, but they want to start October 2nd as their planned start date, and they plan to take the bridge out. But, yeah, what date would you throw out as far as October
I
15th,
guess-
or?
Yeah, it'll probably start raining now for that. And maybe just ask this, and I guess I haven't been involved in this as much as ditches. There really are no landowner meetings or pre-meeting or anything like yours in the ditch project.
There
there-
generally hasn't been, because we have the design meeting up front, and then our right-of-way agent meets with them through the process. So again, that's why we do have a letter, and I will make a note to get you a copy of this as well. Would the whole board like it, or just Commissioner Papp? It's your district, obviously.
I'm welcome to forward my calls to all of you.
I don't.
No, then you just have
I
it.
don't need it, so
You just take care of it.
send it to Kevin. I mean, obviously, like.
Communication is gonna be key with
Yep.
the fall harvest, that's the.
Absolutely.
But I certainly understand Commissioner Papp's
Yep,
concern, because we have to
wholeheartedly.
be concerned on harvest.
And we've discussed this ahead of time too, and I really appreciate Commissioner Papp's feedback on this with respect to the unanticipated detour and people having to go different routes over the course of the winter. However, with all of the circumstances we have on this big of a project and a large bridge replacement, I think it is advantageous for the contractor to take it out now, and if they can get the pier in the middle of the river and the abutments up and out of the water before the spring, because if all of a sudden now, if we get flood conditions in the spring, it makes delivering the project next year very challenging. So it's wise to
Yes.
time it that way.
And I agree 100%. I mean, the fact that if we can close that now we've still got Vernon Center open on 10, not doing anything until next year. It gives us a, not perfect options, but much better options.
Absolutely. We've talked about the re-verification of the permit and the grace period going into February of 2024, so I'll keep you updated as we get feedback from the Corps. We've brought SRF, who got the original permitting work for the county. We brought them on to help with this re-verification process, because I think this is going to be a little bit of a new process that we haven't been through before. I don't like having to kind of change horses mid-race with respect to getting the permit terms reviewed again, but it's just a little bit of the nature of the beast with the timing and how our general permit changed to the new transportation general permit now. CASA 11, from the West County line to CASA 6, the right-of-way meetings are underway and progressing, so Jack's out there meeting with those folks and landowners along the road. Plans are at 90%. We're looking to incorporate what we do is really bring our road plans to 90%. Jack goes out and meets with the landowners and tries to get feedback if they've got concerns of drainage or field approaches, things of that nature, and take those into consideration so we can make some minor tweaks to the plans before they're finalized, so that we're not having to make those in the field ideally. CASA 82, which is Victory Drive, south of Hoffman Road to Fair Street. The design is progressing towards 60%. We should see those plans later this month. Discussions with the city are still needed to determine budget and project schedule impacts for construction, whether we do it all in 2024 or whether we do the south segment in 24 and the north segment in 25. I have a meeting on my calendar with the city engineering staff to discuss that. I'm also starting to look at our capital improvement plan and budgeting for future years as well. So that'll need to be revisited as we look at changing scopes of other projects and availability of funds. There's some maintenance activity updates. Our maintenance crews have been very busy. Seal coating and fog sealing work has been completed on the county system. The crews are continuing mowing out that center third of the county. So again, we do a third of the county a year is our goal. The contracted work for gravel hauling with W. Lawrence has been completed. Sir Lines Lot is scheduled to return to complete this year's striping within the next 2 weeks. The crews completed a deep 60-inch culvert crossing replacement on County Road 155, where you're going to see the crews out around the county patching on various roads. And we actually, a few years ago, bought our own small striping machine, so we're actually out doing pavement messages such as stop ahead, stop bars, railroad crossings, things of that nature. We were having a heck of a time getting small local contractors to actually show up and do those. So we bought the templates and bought the paint machine where you can drop a 5-gallon bucket of paint and beads and actually do it ourselves. So we've been doing some of that work around the county. And then H&R Construction completed repair and replacement of the guardrail on CASA 33 from Waste Management to the south going down that hillside. There was a large semi that took out the old guardrail as it rolled down the hill. So we're trying to have the attorney's office chase after that for the insurance for some of the costs to replace that guardrail. However, they were able, fortunately, we were pretty concerned because it was a rocky fill. We were concerned we wouldn't be able to drive the post to the appropriate depth, but they were able to get the posts in and drive them through that kind of mottled, or not mottled, but friable rock that's there, that limestone bedrock. And then the crews have been working on various driveway installations and drainage issues this fall as well. Just two last items. The EV pickup purchase update. We're still proceeding forward with developing an agreement between the 13 counties in District 7. Right now, we're trying to break the grant into 2 separate grants. So one to Cottonwood County and one to Blue Earth County, where one of us would buy 6 trucks and the other would buy 7. Twofold. First, because the dealerships have told us that their ability to order 6 or 7 trucks is likely a stretch. They only get a certain allotment of pickups. But also because if we can subdivide the grant, there is a Buy America waiver for grants of $500,000 or less. And as we've discussed, the batteries in those EVs are foreign metals, generally speaking. So it would offer us the opportunity to buy the pickups directly instead of having to try to lease them, which would save money because then we wouldn't have to pay leasing and finance fees. We wouldn't have to go through multiple payments on leases and multiple billings to the other counties. We could just buy and pay once, and avoid the interest cost. So we're working with the state, trying to work through that process to see if we can get those subdivided. And again, that way, Cottonwood County could solicit to more local dealerships within their geography, and we could solicit to local dealerships within our geography as well for those purchases. So,
Very good.
working on that. And the last item I had for the board was a Rapidan Dam update. Not a lot going on with respect to the dam. I did provide a summary of the FERC Dam Safety Inspection Follow-Up Letter. The contents were summarized in the board packet. I don't know that I need to read that. There was nothing terribly pressing or newsworthy. We've really heard nothing from the FERC on the licensure surrender. So as far as we know, they're still looking at it. I know Barr has been checking in with them monthly and really hasn't received much of a response. So it's frustrating, but I also understand that we're not the only people that are trying to get rid of dam licenses right now. It sounds like there's quite a few agencies that are doing the same thing, and they're somewhat inundated with these requests. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on that memo. But
Remind me when we started this, Bob, how long are we into this?
when we
FERC
submitted the paperwork, I'd have to go back and double check for sure. I want to say it was likely around April, if I remember correctly. When we submitted the initial notice, there was an initial notice that was submitted, and then there was an actual formal application. That may have been like in June. So I'm speculating at this point.
So they don't have the same time limits that the county does in issuing permits and
Do
things.
as I say, not as I do.
Hey. Hey, they can kind of do what they want.
No, so that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you and have a good day.
And we jump into administration. Bob?
Well, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, the first item is the county board minutes for August 22nd.
I'll move approval.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Passes.
Next are the bills for the 3 weeks indicated.
So moved.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, the same. It passes.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 6 in your packet is the Human Resources Department agenda. Just have informational items for the board today. We did have a resignation of an on-call library clerk, so we've initiated recruitment to refill that position. We filled a child protection specialist position in our Human Services Department, as well as a social worker in our Disability Services area. We had to revise a start date for an assistant county attorney, and then we did receive a resignation of a part-time correctional officer, and so we've initiated recruitment to refill that position. We also filled a correctional officer position in the jail, but then we also received another resignation of a full-time correctional officer. Ultimately filled another correctional officer, so we continue to see a lot of human resources related activity in their jail. And then lastly, well, I guess not lastly, but last one on that page, completion of employment for a maintenance technician in our public works area, as well as a resignation of a maintenance technician. So we have initiated recruitment to fill 2 maintenance technicians in our public works area. Then we had a resignation of a license center specialist and have initiated recruitment to refill that position, and the resignation of an eligibility specialist in our Human Services Department and have initiated recruitment to refill that position. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have on any of that activity.
Any questions?
Nope.
Go ahead.
All right. Item number 7 in your packet is a memo regarding absentee ballot boards establishment. Minnesota election law does direct the governing body of a county municipality or school district to set up ballot boards to accept or reject absentee ballots. We're doing this as a result of the school district's plan to hold an election for a referendum, and so this is probably maybe a little bit of overkill because it technically is the school district's election, but since they've contracted with the county to operate or manage the election, we felt it necessary to make sure we had these absentee ballot boards established. And so we're establishing the absentee ballot board as well as the uniformed and overseas citizens absentee voting related to military duty status voters. And so recommending board approval today of a resolution that would establish the ballot boards.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same. Passes.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 8 in your packet is the statistics from the Office of the County Attorney. County Attorney McDermott was unable to be with us today and asked that we continue to have his report in the packet. So unless Jonathan has been tasked with providing any information to the board, I just bring it forward for your review.
Jonathan, you want to enlighten us any, or?
I'll defer.
Okay.
And then item number 9 in your packet is the financial status report for August 31st. You'll see that our total revenue is sitting at about $72.5 million compared to expenses of just under $70 million. So we're running a little ahead with revenue exceeding expenses at this point in the year. Some items that I might draw your attention to is our state and federal revenues. While down from last year, they are running strong compared to our budget. So I had previously reported that our human service revenues had been a little lagging, but they seem to have caught up a little bit, so I'm happy to report that today. Our interest on investments is another area where we see a pretty dramatic change from prior years. It's obviously reflective of some of the market conditions, and so we are seeing some return in our investments this year. On the expense side of things, I've previously shared with the board that our personal services, our wages and benefits are up quite a bit from a prior year. Some of that is timing of payroll, so it looks a little expanded from last year. At this point in the year, I think you'll see that moderate a little bit in the next month's report, but certainly our class and comp study impact is showing up. And then our contracts and fees is lagging a little bit compared to last year, primarily because of some of the delays in some of the road projects that Ryan has talked to the board about. And so this will be a little bit of a down year in terms of the contracts and fees line. On the enterprise fund, our total revenues sit at about $3.4 million against expenses of $2.5 million. And so despite building an additional cell at the landfill, we are still seeing positive results with our revenue exceeding our expenses. The second page then shows our cash and investment balances. You'll see that towards the top, our total available funds sit at just under $62 million against a target of about $59 million. Moving towards the bottom, then you'll see our total county funds sit at $129.3 million, down a little bit from prior year, which is a result of having a little bit of a deficit last year, but we continue to be in a strong cash position at this point in time. So I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have regarding a financial status report.
Any questions? No?
And that's all I have for administrative items, Mr. Chair.
All right. So we'll jump into the commissioner reports. Patty, you want to start us out this morning?
Not really. I forgot about that. Let me quick get my calendar up.
Kind of jumped right in there, didn't we?
Yeah, you did, and of course my computer's not working. Can you start with
I'll
someone
go-
else?
I'll go.
Go
Thank you,
ahead,
Kevin.
Since the August 22nd board meeting on the 24th, we had a JD 36 landowner ditch meeting we hosted here in Blue Earth County. On the 28th of August, had a NACO Ag Policy Committee call, as well as attended Lake Crystal Council work session with Ryan on Highway 60, the improvements and the detours. On 9/5, before our work session and lunch, we had a Brown County JD meeting here on the 6th. I had AMC Drainage Work Group call, as well as participated with the department heads. On September 7th was Soil Water Conservation District monthly meeting I attended. And yesterday, we had AMC Drainage Work Group through Bowser, also participated in the NACO Ag Policy Chair and Vice Chair Leadership Call, and then last night attended the District 2 County Fair meeting, which was hosted in Blue Earth County at the fairgrounds. That completes my report.
Thank you, sir. Mark?
Okay, yeah, on August, mine starts with August 22nd was the employee recognition event. And then September 5th, yes, we had the joint ditch meeting with Brown County. And then at the county board work session. What's the date on that? Then September 6th, we did have a department head meeting. Was at and participated. Then on September 7th, did have the Maple Policy Board meeting and looked at things like Highway 14 alternatives there and or 169, I should say. And moving ahead, you know, we're going to get City of Mancato's getting electric buses. You guys would like that. Yeah. Anyway, that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
All right. Patty, you ready over there?
Yeah, no wonder I couldn't find anything. I didn't have much going on.
There you
After
go.
the board meeting, the employee recognition was commented on. You know, I had a root canal, the work session, department head meeting. Yeah, it brings us up to today.
All right. Well, for myself, on the 22nd, I had a personnel committee meeting for Traverse to Sioux Library System, and then we had our employee recognition event. On the 23rd, I met at Traverse to Sioux. We were discussing a new director for Traverse to Sioux. So the executive board has been meeting a lot on that. The next week, actually the next week I didn't do a thing the next week. Last week we had our work session. I had NACO membership in the afternoon. We had a department head meeting on Wednesday. And then on Thursday I spent a greater part of the day at the safety day at Minnesota State University for Towards Zero Death. On Friday, I met at Madison East with Traverse to Sioux because they're telling us they want us to move to a different location. So we were looking at different locations at Madison East to move our offices. Yesterday, I spent the whole day at the library downtown doing director interviews for Traverse to Sioux Library. We interviewed 4 different people, and the outcome of that will go to our board a week from Thursday, and so we may be able to get a new director soon, so that'd be good. And that's the end of mine, and I can ask for a recess.
Recess.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, and that passes. And we're really early.
Man, are we ever.
I mean, if we knew this, we probably wouldn't have set a lunch today, so.
Yeah.
You want me to pick you up at 6:30?